Hello, everybody, and welcome. Hi, my name is Dennis Lewis. I am the author of Behold the Cryptopreneurs, and I just want to welcome everybody into this week's livecast. This is today a topic that I really enjoy. I think it's very important. And here we are. Today, we are going to talk about something that I think is really exciting. It's called smart contracts. And so, if you are at all interested in this amazing technology and how you can apply it in your business and how it can make a real difference in the business landscape moving forward, I really suggest that you tune in, you listen in today. I'm going to try and give you everything from a broad overview down to some nitty-gritty examples of use cases of smart contracts. And then at the end, I also want to talk to you about the limitations and some of the things you're going to find when you really try to implement this in the real world. Because like everything, nothing is perfect and nothing is, sparkles and glitter. You're going to find some rough patches along the way as well. So with this in mind, let's jump right in. And by the way, down below, you'll see if you want more information in the future, be sure to go to cryptopreneurs.club and sign up. That's where you can get into the Cryptopreneurs Club and get the most in-depth and most insightful information that we have for you. Now, after that shameless plug, let's just jump right in and talk about smart contracts. And I'm going to start with a concept that is really important, and I think almost every entrepreneur has come across this at some point in their experience, and it's all about trust. And I'm going to ask you a question: Have you ever taken a loss because someone reneged on their word? Somebody went back on what they said they were going to do. Somebody didn't pay you what they said they were going to pay you. Somebody promised you one deliverable and delivered something totally different or slightly different. I'm sure you all have been in this situation. If not, you've not been in business. And the reason this question is so important for today's discussion is because smart contracts are a technological way to improve situations where trust isn't there, where you can't rely on completely on who you're dealing with to do business with. And unfortunately, I've got some gray hair back here. I've learned this the hard way more than once. It doesn't matter how long you've known somebody. It doesn't matter how good a person they are. Every once in a while, things just go south, and you can't always rely on everybody to keep their word when that happens. And so with that in mind, I want to take a step back and give you guys an overview of the blockchain technology stack, the pyramid of what's going on and why this technology is so innovative and so important to users, to why people are calling this the new internet. Okay, and it starts with the underlying level, which is just the blockchain, which is a global decentralized ledger. It's a fancy bookkeeping system. It's decentralized, so it's spread out over thousands of computers all over the world. It's impossible to hack, and it's built on cryptographic technology so that every piece of data that is accepted into the blockchain is immutably there forever and can't be modified. Okay. We've talked about this in prior live casts. If you want, you can go back and look on my profile or look on Crypto Trader News, who's so graciously sharing this live cast with you today as well. Shout out to the guys at Crypto Trader News. The blockchain is the underlying technology. The next step up are cryptocurrencies, and we think of them as the next generation of money. It is money in a algorithmic format. It's created by a mathematical algorithm, and cryptocurrencies were invented to help pay for the infrastructure of the blockchain. So, think of all these thousands of computers that are working to maintain this decentralized bookkeeping system, the ledger, And the question that would jump to your mind is why? Why would they do it? It takes money, it takes electricity, it takes computing power. There's got to be something in it for them, right? And so when blockchain was invented, the idea was to give them a prize in cryptocurrency, a new currency. And that's what Bitcoin is, for example, or Ethereum. These are ways of initially of rewarding the players in the industry that were maintaining, that are maintaining the network, the ledger. And in the first few days of the first few years of its existence, Bitcoins were practically worthless because nobody thought anything of them and nobody really believed that they were anything of value at that time. They were just almost kind of like baseball cards, maybe even less. And now they're trading at a measly $7,000 each Bitcoin, and they've been up over 15K. Hopefully someday they'll be back, right? So that's the next level. On top of the cryptocurrencies, we have the concept of smart contracts, which are algorithmically enforced business processes. So that's what we're going to be talking about today in this live cast, and I'll leave that alone for now. And then on top of the pyramid, we have distributed applications, which are fully functional applications that live on the blockchain. So they communicate with smart contracts, and they're let's call it one level more of complexity on top of just a smart contract. So that is, in summary, the 4 levels of blockchain technology. Smart contracts will change business. This stuff is really, really cool. It is a fundamental leap for the entrepreneurial mind. This is what cryptopreneurs need to be thinking about. And it's really, really cool. I want to just jump right in now. We're going to go right into the, because people told me last time I was a little bit long-winded, so we're going to go a little faster and go right into what is our smart contracts. And they're a whole new business mechanism, okay? So a smart contract is a business algorithm that is deployed onto the blockchain network, okay? So they have a life of their own. Once they're there, they can't be taken down. You can ignore them, you can quit using them, but they're there forever, just like any other piece of data on the blockchain. So once you've deployed a smart contract, it exists. It cannot go away. They have an added feature. They're not just for storing information. They can move money. Okay. So most business applications only move data. If you've got SAP in your company, that's your ERP application. It moves data. It tells you invoices that come in, invoices that go out, payroll, costing, all of the business line functions. That's in your ERP. But it doesn't pay anybody the bills. You still have to go and tell it. I tell somebody, here's your money. A smart contract can go that far. It can take data, it can process data, and it can move money all by itself. So think of it as a business application that actually can do stuff. It can actually move money automatically, okay? And it has the reliability of being completely unchangeable, immutable. So if predetermined conditions are met, the outcome is certain. It's a program. It's a computer program. It can't renege. You can't tamper with it. Once it's been deployed, it exists. It's been deployed, and it can't be changed. Now, you can, like I said, forget about it. You can deploy a new version. You can make maybe it has a bug and you detect it has a bug. Well, then you'll need to redo it, and it will be a new smart contract that you'll be using. And the old one will sit around with its bug, and you'll forget about it, and you'll never use it again. But once a smart contract is deployed, that's it. It's out there. And that gives assurance to the parties that are using the smart contract that it is immutable, that nobody can tamper with it. What you say it's going to do, it will do. And that makes that power of being able to transact automatically very, very important. So let's jump into some use cases. And let's talk with something really simple, the most simple use case of a smart contract, a simple joint venture. And here we have Bob, here we have Mary, they're staring off into the horizon. And let's imagine that Bob and Mary are going to get together and they're going to team up to help Anna, okay? and they agree that Bob is going to do 60% of the work and he's going to get 60% of the proceeds. And Mary's going to do 40% and she's going to get 40% of the proceeds. Okay? And instead of Bob and Mary trusting each other and saying, okay, normally, well, okay, Bob would say, okay, Anna will pay me. When she pays me the bill, I will send you the 40%. And Mary has to trust Bob. And have you ever been in that position? I'm sure you have. I have, lots of times. Most of the time, Bob pays Mary what she needs, her share, and everything's hunky-dory and great. Business as usual, and everything goes well. But every once in a while, the real world creeps in, and it's not that way. They have a dispute. They say, Bob says, oh, Anna didn't actually pay me, or she didn't pay me the whole amount, or you know, I'm not really happy with what you did, Mary. You know, you said you were going to do 40%, but, you know, I really now think that you did 30%, so I'm going to give you 30%. And Mary has very little recourse. She doesn't have the money. Sure, you can she could take Bob to court, but we all know how expensive that could be. We all know how much of a headache that is. And what normally would happen when this happens, tensions arise, disputes arise, and it either ends up in the court or it ends up as a failed joint venture, and they get mad at each other and they go away. And neither Bob nor Mary is happy, and Anna isn't either. Okay? So now let's fix this problem with the smart contract. The smart contract is very simple. They tell Anna, okay, Anna, you're going to pay this contract every time we deliver our services. You're going to pay the contract. And automatically, that smart contract is going to receive 100% of the payment. It's going to send 60% to Bob and 40% to Mary. And that's what it's going to do. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Okay? But here's what happens. There's no uncertainty. Every time Anna pays, Bob gets paid, Mary gets paid, and it's done. There's no questions. There's no disputes. There's no delays. There's no complicated administrative process. It just happens. Boom. Payment comes in, payment split between the two of them, and Anna's happy, Bob's happy, Mary's happy. And if they have a dispute or they want to renegotiate the conditions of the joint venture, then they'll sit down and they'll do it and they'll deploy a new smart contract. But there'll never be a case where Anna pays and Mary doesn't get her share or Bob doesn't get his share. That is a very simple, straight to the bottom line example of a simple smart contract. It can get much more complicated than that. So let's move on. Next example, let's create an investment fund. Let's create Greenlight Investments. And each partner receives tokens corresponding to their percentage of ownership in the fund. New partners are issued new tokens, and Greenlight Investment receives a fixed management fee every quarter. Okay, it's more complicated than Bob and Mary. There's more players. There is a fixed fee for the management. There's a changing structure based on the number of shares of ownership. And these shares are represented by a token inside that the smart contract deploys. So this is going to be a Greenlight token, and every time a new partner is added, they receive some more tokens. And every quarter, all profits are automatically deposited into the fund's smart contract. Greenlight receives their fee. Each partner then receives their share of profits based on the number of tokens they have, and it all happens without human intervention. So this is a slightly more complicated example. It's similar, but it opens the door to new partners coming in. The token ownership could be sold between partners, or a partner could transfer tokens to another partner, or could return them to the fund. And the system would continue to work because it takes in the profits from the quarter, it pays the management fee, and then it divides the remainder among all the tokens that exist in the market and sends each token holder their share. So this is one step higher in the hierarchy of how we could have a smart contract that would resolve what is a fairly complicated business process completely automatically with no human intervention and no delays. It's immutable, and it also guarantees that every partner is going to get their fair share. Cool, right? You're starting to see the possibilities here. Let's go even farther. Let's do an escrow operation. Let's say that Jane is selling her home to Bob, and Jane has a mortgage with the big bank incorporated. So Bob needs to cancel the mortgage before taking ownership of the home, because he doesn't want to buy a home that with a debt that Jane took out. So how are we going to do this in a smart contract? Well, first of all, we're going to have a proof of ownership token is created on the blockchain, and it goes to Jane's wallet. So now she is the legal owner of the property, of the house, the home for sale. Jane would then send that token to the smart contract. Okay, now the smart contract is holding the ownership of the home. Bob sends all the funds for the purchase to the smart contract, and then the smart contract sends the mortgage amount to Big Bank Incorporated. Big Bank confirms that it's received its funds and has canceled the mortgage. Jane receives the remaining funds, and then Bob receives the ownership token of the new home. Okay, now we've got all sorts of things happening, all in an automated way. This happens every day. Every day, homes are sold. In the U.S., we have title insurance. We have there's a whole process of escrows and lawyers and all sorts of middlemen in the middle to handle this. In Europe, it's a bit different. This is usually done by a notary, or there are different forms based depending on the country in Europe. But it all involves complicated administrative processes and people signing off and moving money and checks going here and checks going there, and because there has to be trust. It has to happen. By doing this in a smart contract, bank knows it's going to be paid, or the operation is not going to happen. Jane knows that her mortgage is going to be paid off, so she knows that she's not going to get stuck holding a mortgage. Bob knows he's not going to get stuck with a home that's mortgaged without that being paid off. And Jane knows she's going to get paid. So it works in a orderly, synchronized way. And at the end, Bob has proof that he is the sole owner of the asset, of the home. So another really cool example of how we could use a smart contract to eliminate and streamline a very traditional, normal transaction that occurs in the real world, but make it more efficient and more useful by deploying it onto the blockchain. And it would all happen automatically, no human intervention, no chance of error, and every person in the transaction knows that their interests are protected. Let's take this another step higher. Now let's think of government budgets. Let's imagine that the government were to deploy its annual budgets on the blockchain, and that every government expenditure would be registered on this government blockchain. All unused amounts would be returned. There would be complete transparency. It would be visible for all citizens to audit. All the funds would be accounted for. And you could deploy forensics that would catch things like kickbacks and other fraudulent practices, because every transaction is there. Every time somebody pays taxes, it would go into the fund, to the government budget, and every time an expenditure is approved, the transaction would be launched. Well, this could be an example of probably thousands of smart contracts working synchronized together in a distributed application. But think about the benefits to democracy. Think about the benefits to transparency. Think about all the corruption this could eliminate. And it could all happen in a system that would require much lower cost of administration and a much higher reliability of actually everything happening the correct way. So we can take smart contracts and go from the tiniest little joint venture smart contract that just pay Bob and Mary to an enormous complex system that could run autonomously on top of the blockchain. So I wanted to take this and give you guys the whole field of how simple or how complex could this be? To get your mind ticking, how could you use this in your business? How could you deploy this to make your business more efficient and more streamlined and more reliable and reduce your risks and reduce your costs? So, what are some of the limitations? Well, the smart contracts as they are right now do have limitations. It's not all ice cream and chocolate cake. Okay, there are complications. This isn't completely as simple and as I've made it out to be in this short presentation. First of all, smart contracts have difficulties interacting with the outside world, and that's not to say they can't, but it is to say that it requires skills and knowledge to think these things through, so that when they interact with the outside world, you're not opening the door to future problems. So realize that a smart contract is a computer program. Okay, it has to be programmed. For example, on the Ethereum blockchain, they use a language called Solidity, and there are others on different blockchains. There aren't that many programmers waiting there to do this. So and if you're interested in a smart contract technology to improve your business, contact me. Lewis at cryptopreneurs.com or the cryptopreneurs.club will work. We have contacts with tech companies that can help you, and we can help you design your solution. But having said that, they are slightly complicated. They aren't legible you can't pick it up. You can't grab it like my amazing book, Behold the Cryptopreneurs. Here it is. You pick it up, you read it, you get the knowledge, you know what you're getting into. Okay. I'm gonna put that back up there. Maybe it won't fall down. Okay. A smart contract is a program. So you're going to be reading an algorithm. So it is complicated. You need to verify it. You're going to need technical expertise to know that smart contract actually does what you think it needs to be done. So they have to be carefully debugged. And then you have to remember, once they're deployed, they're there forever. Okay? So you can't change them. So that means you have to be really careful in the programming and debugging stage to make sure that smart contract is valid and it actually does what you want. And then you have to understand that when you send the funds to a smart contract, you can't stick your hand back in and pull them back out, okay? Unless that function exists somehow in the program, okay? So the smart contract is going to do what you tell it to do. But it isn't a sentient being. This isn't artificial intelligence. It isn't, you can say, hey, Bob, I made a mistake and sent $1 million to the smart contract by mistake, send it back. No, unless there's a function that allows that to happen. So that means going back, you have to be sure that it's well done, that it's debugged, and that it is verified to actually do what you want it to do. And then you have to know that it will do exactly what you've told it to do. So if in order for it to return the funds, XYZ conditions have to be met, then it won't return the funds until XYZ conditions are met. So that being said, that is the benefit, but it is also the limitation. It will do exactly what you've told it to do. So I think we've been going on 27 minutes. How could smart contracts improve your business? Can you imagine steps, complicated or simple, in your business that you would like to have automated so that they happen bang, 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 and you knew it was going to happen without any doubt? That's where you should be thinking about this. Should you redo your entire business to be done in smart contracts? Probably not yet. The technology is probably not quite there for that. But it is definitely something every cryptopreneur, every entrepreneur should be thinking about, should be sticking their their big toes in the water and thinking, could this help me? Can this be of use? And now we're to the fun part. We are to the questions part. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to come back here. Hey, I'm back here live. I'm going to stop that. And if you'll just give me a second here, I'm going to, Tony, who's been moderating our questions, I'm going to pull up the screen over here, see if I've got access to those questions, and we will try and answer as many questions as we can in the next few minutes, and then we'll be closing this down. So meanwhile, while the questions open up here, see, I think I've also got them here. Do you need your own token to create a smart contract? No, you don't. Actually, it has nothing to do. There might be use cases where you'll want to create a token in the process, but it isn't necessary. Your smart contract can just use the native token on the blockchain. So that could be, if you're deploying it on the Ethereum blockchain, then it would use Ethereum. If you're deploying your smart contract on EOS, then it would be using their token. So that isn't, it isn't necessarily that you don't necessarily have to do that. How decentralized should a blockchain be? Permissionless versus permissioned, private? Oh, that's a great question. I guess it depends on the industry. It depends on what you're trying to do. Is this a B2B scenario where it's a closed supply chain that is closed to a specific group of vendors? Then maybe a private blockchain is a good solution. If it is B2C and it's open to everybody participating, then it's almost certainly going to be a completely decentralized, completely public blockchain. Permissioned or permissionless? It depends on the case. There's not one answer, one size fits all. There's certainly a lot of really cool stuff being done in the B2B space right now with permissioned and permissionless private blockchains and public blockchains. So, you'll have to give me more concrete examples. And here's another, somebody asked, isn't it easier just to use an escrow system? Like, even if there is a lot of paperwork happening and a lot of people need to be trusted, you don't need to code anything. Well, the cool thing is that we're getting to the point where a lot of these more simple scenarios are going to be deployable through templates and through service providers that already are going to take out the complexity. So you're just going to be able to go somewhere, you're going to be able to say, I want a simple ABC escrow contract that does this, splits it these percentages, boom, boom, boom. And pretty much you're going to be able to deploy it instantly, and you're going to be able to take care of these cases without needing a lot of programming experience because it's already been done. Does that mean you're sort of putting some trust into the provider who's created these templates? Yes, you are. So like everything in life, there's no purity of answer. But yes, I think there's going to be solutions coming out soon that are going to make this not as complex but are going to give you the benefits. So for like that simple joint venture, or 3, 4, 5 party smart venture, or that investment fund, these are applications that are already being developed. They're being deployed on different blockchains, and you're just going to be able to use them. So lots of stuff going on there. I think that's all the questions we've had today. I hope you've all enjoyed the live cast. If you have, please leave some comments. The comments are really important. If you leave any questions later, I will try to answer them in the comments as well. But that helps us get the word out. It helps us grow these live casts to get to more people. So if you're listening in, if you see this, definitely jump in. I'm going to put couple of banners up here just for a minute. Here's just thanking our partners at CryptoTraderNews.com. They've got awesome crypto news, so great place to go there. There's the link there. And once again, if you want more information about smart contracts, about blockchain technology in general, about becoming a cryptopreneur, then you need to be in the Cryptopreneurs Club, cryptopreneurs.club. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you next week, and take care.